Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. How are you all today? Let's talk a little bit about EMP, shall we? With all these floating objects going around over the country and us shooting them down and nobody knowing what's going on. Well, some people know what's going on, but they're not talking. It's got everybody talking again and worrying again about the possibility of EMP and EMP attack, and you should be worried about that. It also has pretty much all of the other preparedness channels talking about it, and I think that's a good thing. I want to make that very clear that I am not saying anything disparaging about any other channel that's talking about it. It's good that they do. It's good that people become aware of it, become more interested in it, get on the road of preparing for it. The only problem is that most of the other I have yet to watch another channel that really understands EMP and the real threat of it. That's why I'm doing this today. I want you to know it's worse than you're being told, okay? Many people, they're kind of new to the EMP game, and so they're gleaning whatever information they can skim off the surface. That's good. The surface is a good place to start, but it's not a good place to stop. You got to get down into the weeds. This is something that I've been primarily interested in for a very long time. It's why I wrote my first book, The Reversion, in 2017. That's been a minute, hadn't it? 2017, The Reversion came out, and it was about a total collapse of the world as a result of a CME. Now, a CME is a little bit different than an EMP. Most EMP we consider either a nuclear-induced or a high-altitude-induced EMP, a HIMP, or there are other ways to do it, but that's the main way. A CME is a coronal mass ejection. It's a result of a sun activity, and it's the globe killer. I went on, I'm going to stop here and explain a little bit before we get into the details. And I'm going to explain the reason that I wrote the book. Maybe I should go back to that. Was to try, this is a lesson in novel form. This is a complete lesson on how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse. Now let's go to something from my second book. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from the preface that I wrote explaining exactly what would happen, because some people are getting this a little bit wrong, okay? It's important. If you prepare for something, you need to know the truth of something, okay? I'll just read. It's just a couple of paragraphs. On September 1 and 2, 1859, a solar coronal mass ejection, or CME, struck the Earth's magnetosphere, causing a geomagnetic storm witnessed around the globe. The northern aurora was seen as far south as southern Mexico, and the southern as far north as Australia. Gold miners awakened in the middle of the night to prepare breakfast, thinking it was daytime, and telegraph systems across America and Europe failed, shocking operators and setting papers on fire. Other observed and documented by amateur British astronomer Richard Carrington, it was dubbed the Carrington Event. If a Carrington-class CME struck Earth today, it would destroy all electrical grids and electronic components worldwide. Now here is something that I'm going to expand on in a minute. There is a lot of disagreement on exactly what an EMP or a CME would affect. I'm going to get that in a minute, because now we're getting into the science that a lot of people just don't understand but make claims about because they believe the superficial information. Remember, it's worse than you think. Okay, so if a Carrington-class CME struck Earth today, it would destroy all electrical grids and electronic components worldwide. We would immediately be back in a world without electricity. Okay, a nuclear-induced electronic or electromagnetic pulse would have the same effect in a target area. In either case, the EMP Commission estimates that 90% of those in affected areas would be dead within 1 year from starvation, disease, accidents, and the violence that accompanies societal collapse. How probable is this? In their 2012 report, the American Geophysical Union projected a 12% chance that a Carrington-class CME would strike the Earth within the next decade. The chance of a nuclear-induced EMP attack from one of our global enemies, we have no way to know. Okay, let me address a couple of those things. And right at this point, somebody will be typing, you should read the... there's another book here I was going to get. Hang on half a second. Okay, they're going to say or suggest to everybody, you should read 1 Minute After by, I forget the guy's name, Forshaw or something like that. I read that book before I wrote mine. And I did not think much of it. This isn't a crack against him. It's simply he has a different background than I do. He got his book published because he was a friend of Newt Gingrich. I thought his book 1 Second After, and then I guess he's written a couple more I have not read. I haven't cared to because I didn't like the first one. It didn't even scratch the surface of what would actually happen. As a matter of fact, reading his book was one of the main reasons that I wrote my books. So those books are the Stonemont Series, the Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, Blessings of Freedom, and the new one just came. I'm in the process. You all will be among the first to hear about it. I'm in the final edit process of the 6th book, Hostages to Fortune. Now, within these books contain everything that will explain exactly what you should expect from an EMP. First off, nobody knows exactly what would work or not work after an EMP, as far as you know, your individual appliances, your car, your this, your that. We pretty much know the grid would be down. The grid doesn't matter whether it's EMP or a CME. The grid would be down, which means anything that you need to get that comes from outside your house or your car, you're probably not getting it. Electricity is off, water service is off as soon as the pressures decline from the water towers. Your gas service is off, and you'll say, well, but gas isn't electric. all the gas production and delivery systems run on electricity, okay? So no gas, no lights, no any of that. Now, this does not return us to the Middle Ages, to the Dark Ages, as I've heard some people say. No, it returns us to about 1850, okay? During which time many people lived good lives. That's the good news. Also, during which time a lot of people lived very horrible lives and carried forward to this. In the world that we live today, the collapse, they estimate a 90% die-off in the first 12 months in the affected area. Societal collapse. If you look at the kind of society we have today, all the drug-dependent people, both street drugs and pharmaceutical script-based, and you see the kind of mental health we have going on, and you see the kind of violence that has been allowed and perpetuated by the powers that be, you are going to have a hard day's work ahead of you if the power goes out. It's going to be beyond what most people can even begin to understand. That's what I cover in these books. However, there is a way to deal with it. Let me go back for 1 second here and say, when we get to exactly what would work or not work, and when we get to how to protect it, as far as Faraday cages, Faraday rooms, bunkers, shelters, things like that, I write in detail in the first book the creation of a bunker and Faraday protection and all of that. But I don't claim, and never have, to be an expert on the science of EMP or the science of CME. Luckily, we have some people on our Patreon channel. We have an exceptional Patreon channel. If you're not with us, you should be. If you're serious about this or any other aspect of preparedness, there is so much more on the Patreon channel than is on the YouTube channel. And over there, we have some guys who actually know about these things, about the science. Our scientist emeritus, Hondo Bob, who made these lanterns behind me. Hondo, both from the military and private industry, has a background. He has set up an entire list over there, kind of a reference material in our community section that goes through in detail all of the science of EMP effect, protection against, what might work, what might not work, if you want to really understand this. Okay, not just listen to somebody like me or others who kind of has an idea about the survival aspects of it, but really want to understand this and get the science instead of arguing about it. That's the place to go. Jay Johns also contributes some great stuff over there. So we have an exceptional resource for you on our Patreon page. The link is down below. If you are really worried about this, and you should be, come over there so that you can get more information and be as prepared as you need to be. Okay, so what exactly would happen? It would return us to pre-electricity. Realize no services coming, no food being delivered. We all know that. No police protection, no fire protection, no medical response. None of that. Hospitals were going to be a mess for until the last person leaves and dies there. Okay. I talk a little bit about that in the books, and I have quite a bit of experience in that area. And then we go into surviving. How do you survive the aftermath of an EMP? This comes down to basic but extensive preparedness. A month's worth of food is not going to do you any good unless you use that month to hook up with people who can help you survive. A year's worth of food is not going to do you any good unless within that year you're able to, again, hook up with another group or to start producing everything you need, okay, to eat. Here's one of the most dangerous things that both the government and I see some other people saying, and that is that after an EMP or CME, it could take up to 6 months or a year to replace the major, excuse me, I hear somebody call. Okay, they didn't need me. To replace the major transformers that we need to get the grid back up. That's bunk. That's junk. Okay, it's important to understand we have 3 grids in this country: East, West, and Texas. Okay, among all those 3 grids, there are approximately 2,000 of the large transformers. If any of them go out, now there's a little bit of discrepancy on the information. I've seen some resources that say there are no spares. Okay, and that they're not manufactured in the United States anymore. Okay, for a while some were being made in Germany and South Korea. I'm not sure if that's, I heard Brazil was working on them too. Not sure, doesn't matter. Okay, doesn't matter. What happens is if one goes out now, it takes up to a year to replace it. Okay. What do you think would happen? How long do you think it would take for 2,000 to be replaced when there's no manufacturing worldwide? Or if we've been hit by an enemy, they're just waiting to invade, right? Or if they weren't able to survive our response, then they won't be coming. Good. That's better, right? I'd rather be here with no lights and without the enemies coming in than with them, right? So it's not a matter of, hey, they're going to get together and they're going to fix these transformers. No, what's going to have to happen is a total rebuilding of the manufacturing structure, not just the large industrial, but the technological. Okay, does that make sense? Electronics we will have to we don't have to reinvent it. We already have the information, right? We have the knowledge. But building up the capacity to start producing that again when there's no electricity? Now, there will be electricity. We will be able to generate electricity on smaller scales, the old ways. And I start getting into that in my 4th and 5th books, An Appeal to Heaven and The Blessings of Freedom. I start to explain exactly how we start building back an electrical infrastructure. That's important to understand because you can do it on a smaller level for yourself. But you can imagine, if it was a result of an attack, nobody's coming to help, right? Nobody's coming to help. They're going to wait for the die-off. I would, if I were the whatever. I'm not going to, Chinese, Russian, whoever. If I was their boss, I'd say, we're not going in there. We're going to let 90% of them die off, and then we'll go in there and take their country, right? Wouldn't that make sense? Okay, so nobody's coming to help. If it was a CME, pretty much the entire world could be down, and even if it's not, the cascading effects would certainly have debilitating effects on any that happen to survive. Okay, so this stuff about, well, it's going to take them a year to build back or something like that's hooey. It's gonna, if it was done in 10 years, we'd be lucky. Okay. What's going to happen in that 10 years? Well, if 90% of the people die in the first 12 months, how many more do you think are going to die in the next 9 years? Okay? The world will change completely. This is why you need the real information. You need to understand how bad it could be. And I don't think most people out there do, even other people making videos. I don't think, because it's not their main thing, right? It's not their main thing. It is my main thing. Okay, and I want you to realize how horrible it would be. It's beyond your wildest imagination. I talk in here about cannibalism. I talk about cannibalism as a business. I talk about slavery. I talk about slavery as a business, as a new economy. Those things will happen. If you don't want them to happen to you, it's up to you to take the steps to make sure they don't, or at least to try to make sure they don't, because there's no guarantee. You're only as strong as you are and as your group is, and you're only as capable as you are. If you want to be more capable, you need to develop more capabilities. Okay, but this is the most horrible thing that could happen. And it's almost assured, well, it is assured, the scientists assure us that a CME will happen. So anyone who is not preparing for a CME, I have to wonder why. Why not? Why would you not prepare for that? Well, probably in most cases because most people don't, the vast majority of people don't have any idea how devastating it would be. Now, we've had, we had a question, for instance, about solar power. We just had it over on one of our patrons. There's a couple of levels over there. You can join at the most basic, or the next level up's only $5 a month. The Stonemont level, that allows you to ask questions and get responses and things like that. But somebody had asked about how to protect their solar, or whether it was possible to protect their solar array from an EMP or a CME. That is a great question, and it's a question that I hear people arguing about. Well, that's a question that our science people on the Patreon channel answered very well. That's the benefit of being in a good group. The benefit of being with a good group in the world is the support and the knowledge you can get from them. The benefit of being in a good group here on YouTube or on Patreon is the quality of information you can get and the assistance you can get. And I can't say enough about our people over there on Patreon and what I've personally learned from them. Yeah, I know how to prepare. I know how to survive. I did not understand the science. I just had an idea of what happened. And again, nobody knows because it's all theoretical. The last global killer we had was in 1859, the Carrington Event. Okay, we haven't had one since then. During the time that we have been electronics and electricity dependent, but it's coming, they tell us. Why would you not be prepared. Okay, that's basically what I wanted to say today. I'm going to ask, please share this video with everyone you know, because people need to understand this. They can read things like the 1 minute after, 1 second after, or whatever it was. They're not going to get an idea of how bad it will be. They're also not going to get an idea of how to prepare for it. This will, and I forgot to mention, these are available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle, and I put the links down below, how to get there, how to get them from Amazon, how to get them from me. The sixth one is not available yet. It will be available probably later this month. But they need, and you need, if you haven't read them, read those books. It will give you a detailed blueprint, a roadmap of how to prepare for the most devastating thing that ever could and will happen. Share this with your friends. Share this with people that you know about. Read this series of books with your mag. I get so many letters and emails from people saying, we're reading your books in our mag or in our family. We've learned so much. I want you to learn that too. When you're dealing with something like this, it's not enough to deal with opinions. It's not enough to deal with people who are rightly concerned and are doing a good service by bringing it to your attention if it hasn't been their main thing, if they haven't given a lot of thought to it. But it doesn't mean they haven't given a lot of thought. We've got smart people out there talking about it, okay? But until you really get down into the weeds and understanding what would really happen as a result of a total societal collapse, you don't know how to prepare for it, and you need to. Okay? I hope you all will. I hope you will. For the sake of your families, for your children, your grandchildren, you need to, because this is the existential threat that awaits us. Now, what's up in these little balloons? Who knows? Who knows? But you know what? If you've prepared according to this, you'll be prepared for it. Okay. I hope you all have gotten a little out of this. I hope you've taken it seriously, because you should. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Get out there. Do what you can today, because the day will come to when there's no tomorrow, except a tomorrow for which you should have prepared and can no longer prepare. Okay? Y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.